Today's video, I'm going to walk through why I cannot stop thinking about these four candles on this chart with the S&P 500. This is a daily chart, and what this is my indicator that is called the gravity zone indicator. What it showed and what it did at these levels back in 2023 was just unprecedented. And I'm going to show you all the rest of the candles here. So let's actually go back in time. Let's move back in time to 2023, and let's see what we were doing all the way back here at these candle positions. So check this out. So we actually had a buy, a buy, a buy, and basically what that means, if we get a teal candle, that represents that there is a volume range that has broken, and it did that three separate times and all within a very short time period. So what did that mean? So if this was today, and I'm going to actually show you an example of what we're looking at right now in 2026, but I want to share exactly it's kind of in a familiar spot. We're almost in a familiar spot at this time. So that's why I'm just eager to show you guys this. So look what happens as soon as it breaks out of this. Check this out. So there was a massive volume node right here that the S&P 500 was stuck in. What does that remind you of? It reminds you of right now at this time, according to when I'm doing this video in 2026, we're in a very long and strong range. What happens when we break those ranges? Well, let's take a look. Look at that thing. It just literally just shoots up and just continues to hit these resistance levels. So you see these dotted lines right here. These all represent resistance level. It broke through this one real quick. Actually came back into it, came again. Now we're chilling at this resistance level as well. And so that is what we can expect to see, I believe, if we can break out of this current range. So what's going on, guys? If you do not know, if you haven't followed this channel, if you haven't checked this out, my name is Ben, and I am the lead trader, developer, and systems creator here at Find Better Trades. And I want to talk about a system that I call gravity zone. And so what basically the gravity zone is essentially what I just showed you there. It finds trades that break out of volume ranges. So as soon as there is a big volume node, there will be a potential trade for you to get in above or get in below. So let me actually fast forward it here to the next available one. So here's our three. So that was a beautiful trade up into that resistance point. And I have a lot of in my membership area, I talk about those, how you can get out of those. Those are smart exit points. But look at what happened here as soon as it came back into the gravity zone. Notice how it went right into our gravity line and then shot right back out. So as soon as it did that, we got another trigger. So guys, this could actually happen again. And I believe that our next move could be like this, right? And then we could pull back again and potentially get another one. So there is two potential massive big time moves that could be coming here in the next coming weeks. And check that out. So as soon as there is another pocket of volume, what it'll do is it'll reposition the volume, because this is a living being, essentially, is what I like to call it, and it will basically map out new levels and new structured areas. So now our next breakout was right here, and now whenever there is all-time highs, we call it the blue sky. And essentially, when blue sky is here, it's really just a discovery zone. So that's essentially, it's when you see that, you know that markets are at all-time highs and they are crushing it. So I wanted to show you that example because I think that we are in a interesting spot here for the next possible big move. So here we are. So let me actually do that exact same thing here in 2026. And I noticed something quite interesting. So we did get a big sell-off right here. Now this was quite interesting because this was just a almost like a fluke, if you will, because this one day, and I don't remember exactly what the news was, but I believe this was news driven as well, went straight down, but then came right back into our range. So this really wasn't that big of a really that big of a deal, because as soon as it came back, as soon as it broke, it came right back into our range. Now, this is what I'm noticing. We have one, and then now we have two. We have two consecutive green candles that saying we're going up on the gravity zone. And let's turn our candles back on and let's look at what is happening. So basically what's happening here is that the price is trying to break out of these levels. So you see it did it right here. You see it did it right there. But then it came right back into this support zone. So if it breaks below, where are we going to go most likely? Right here back into this support zone. So I think S&P, if it does break, it could possibly go right back into this support. Now, we're still in this range though. It's still ranging. Now, this is from December, right? January, February. Now we're in March. Now we are in March and we're still in this range. We're still in this area where it just kind of just chopping. So I believe that we could potentially see a big time breakout at these all-time highs right here and see exactly what we saw in 2023. Now, what does that mean? Well, in 2023, it moved, I believe it was like somewhere like 12% very quickly. It was 10-12%. So we could even see an area like this of on the S&P 500. Let's actually see where that would be if it broke out. Let's just go 10%. That would be at 768. I'll be all the way up here at 768, which honestly, I believe that it could easily do that quickly. Not something where it'll drag out for 2 years, or I believe that it could be a move like this where we literally just go parabolic and it just rockets to the upside, because there's just so much tension. Many there's just so many orders. There's just so much. And think about this also, right? Think about some of the biggest stocks out there right now. So Microsoft, look how far down it has gone, right? Since all-time highs. Microsoft has been getting absolutely crushed. Let's just say something like Tesla. Tesla is, quite a bit off of its all-time highs. We're at around it's about 18% down. Let's look at something like Apple, right? Apple is not even really close to its all-time highs right now. I mean, we could just go down the list. Nvidia is really, it's not doing bad, but it's just kind of in this chop city. So I think if these mags can lift up and start getting some volume, getting some big time volume, some big time momentum, the S&P 500 is going to break, and it's going to break to the upside, and it's going to be a massive move, I believe, here in 2026. I think that it is coming. I think we're loading. When I look at this, I can see that it is loading up. It's gearing up for something. It is gearing up for something, and I think right now at this point, with a lot of tensions and the VIX is high, there's a lot of big time players keeping this up. And so could there be maybe another move like this ready, and then we go back into chop city and then break? I mean, again, anything is possible. This market is not 100%. If you think you can, if you think you know what's going to happen, you don't, because nobody does. However, what we can see is little breadcrumbs, and the breadcrumbs is telling us that this is chopping, and that when it chops, you typically see a massive move. Look at this little chop, and this was still pretty big V right there, but then it finally broke down. Now again, this was a little bit different. That was the liberation sell off. But we can even just go back in time and look at all of the times where it chops, and then it just breaks out. Look at this, chop, breakout. And what happened on that breakout? Well, we got the blue candle, and again, it's not perfect. So, because check this out. This was the same scenario. Now, to me, this was only the second time that it touched, right? So this was the second time. So this wasn't as strong. so that it came right back in. But now the third one, as soon as it broke, there was the blue sky that was all-time highs, which is where we're going to be if it does go back up there. And look what happens. It just shoots straight up to the, I mean, I guess there was a little bit of a pullback there, but I mean, that's just what happens at these levels. That's what could happen at a potential breakout of these levels like this. So I thought that was a quite an interesting thing that I found on the S&P, and you can do this on every single chart out there. You can do this on the lower time frames, higher time frames. I like to do this on the daily, looking at a lot of my systems, my indicators, my the just ways of trading support, resistance, trend lines, price action. I like to look at all of that stuff, and this is the recent one that I found that I thought was quite interesting. So I believe if we get that, if we get that, 1, 2, 3, 4, this will, if we come up here, this will be 5. This will be 5. Now these are smaller touch points. If you break that, it's going to explode. I believe that it is going to explode. We're going to see just a vertical cup, candles like this where it's just going straight up, volume, risk off. Everybody's happy. Everybody's going. The mags are lifting up. The mags are going back, would end up going back into all-time highs, into all-time highs levels, maybe a little bit of a pullback, and then boom, and just a continuation of that. So look for that in the S&P 500. We got to get some of this politics aside with war things going on. That's going to be hard for the markets to do that. So that is going to have to. There is going to be some resolution for that. But if that does get resolved, if there's peace, whatever, hopefully very soon, this could happen. This could happen easily on the S&P 500, along with other assets like Bitcoin. And look at Bitcoin, just what it did today. Let's actually look at Bitcoin. There was a beautiful breakout. What happened here in this particular tool is just, it's insane with Bitcoin. Mapping it out to the downside. There's the first one. And this one tried, just wasn't enough. Second one right here, a beautiful downside move. It is starting to build up a lot of momentum, and it's starting to break out of this particular volume area. And so can it break and confirm and continue to move up? Because this is an open space right here. Essentially, our goal as traders is to find these open spaces. If you're a breakout trader, to find these open spaces and trade them and trade them up to the next available spot. So this one would be, say we're in a buy trade right here. Our next level would be up here at 8,500 or 85,000 in this area right here, because this is the next volume area. This is the next resistance. This is where we would be looking at to, if we're in this trade, to continue up and go into this resistance point. So that's kind of how we trade this. That's kind of the idea behind it. Right now, this was the main gravity zone. This was the main area. So it actually hasn't changed. So there really wasn't a big time change in Bitcoin. I believe probably there could be another little pullback here, and then maybe we get that nice little gravity zone, so we can finally figure out if we want to go up or down on Bitcoin. Right now, it's a very nice blue, very nice green candle on that, but we'll see what happens on that. But again, I just thought this was an interesting way to look at this tool, to trade this tool. If you're interested in this, there will be a link in the description, so go ahead and check that out. There's just a small one-time fee just to cover all the expenses of keeping this thing updated, and because we've been adding a lot of great features to this. We actually have contracts. We have the drip percentage, buy, sell, gravity, status. There's all this stuff, and I don't want to go too much into it because I have other videos about that on the channel. However, all these matter. All these things you do take into account, like this 19% I'm seeing right there. That's a big deal to me. That is a big deal to be that far away from the highest gravity line. And I walk through all of that with our members inside the community. So check that out if you're interested, and I'll see you guys in the next video.